If you come here for a rant, you come to the wrong place. Now is not the time to panic. That comes later. Yes, opening day, Manchester United. Dealt with. We got dealt with by Crystal Palace at Old Trafford. Second season in a row. Early game of the season. And last season it was, what, 2-3 games in? I can't remember exactly. It was definitely early in the season. And they came with very similar tactics. I mean, this is how Crystal Palace play. This is how they play against the Big Six. This is why their record against the Big Six is so good. They sit back, they defend deep, they're very compact, very disciplined, and then they hit you on the counter-attack. Zaha, Townsend, Ayew, Schlupp. But we weren't good enough. We were not good enough. People are going to come up with all these different reasons. We can talk about the lineup. We can say, Solskjaer shouldn't have played X, Y, Z. James Rodriguez. We could have done with James Rodriguez today. Daniel James bore brunt of criticism. McTominay bore brunt of criticism all before the first whistle was blown because they were even on the team sheet. Fosu Mensah the same. But this is the reality of Man United. This is our squad. And at some point this season, whether it was the first game, the 19th game, or the 38th game, you're going to see these players if we don't strengthen in the market. And today, I'm not blaming the fact that, we haven't signed Jadon Sancho, whatever. But today was the epitome of why we need to make signings. More so than anything, actually, because who came off the bench and scored our goal? Our new signing. The positions that we're looking to strengthen, where did we lack, especially in the first half, whether defensively or going forward, in the positions where we're trying to target new signings? These signings have to come in, or we're going to get more of the same. No, every game isn't going to be like this. We're going to get early goals in games and be able to, blitz teams, X, Y, whatever it may be. But this is going to be a regular occurrence if we don't do the business. And you know what? Edward was there. Edward was in the ground watching start to finish. He saw what we saw. He saw what we saw. So his notes in the match program about, we've invested in Donny van der Beek and Bruno Fernandes, who were our two best players today. It shows that when you invest in the right players, and I trust the signings that Ollie makes, those are the ones who perform. Those are the ones who perform. But I said some people are going to blame the lineup. For me, it's neither here nor there because, yes, we could have played, on paper, a stronger team, Wan-Bissaka, Mason Greenwood, for example. I don't know where Nemanja Matic is. I know there's a number of players who haven't either been in training or only had one training session, or some of them had to quarantine, whatever it might be. A lot of players aren't ready to start the season. We know our season ended later. Granted, it started later as well. But there's a few players there who just weren't ready to start this game. And as I said, this is our squad. This is our squad. They're going to play at some point, and you're going to complain at some point. So I can't look at the lineup and say that's the reason we lost, because it wasn't. It wasn't. We can talk about the VAR decision. Absolute disgrace of a penalty decision. I mean, that was... That's a terrible shout. That is actually a terrible, terrible shout. And I'll tell you why it's a terrible shout. They spoke about handball for penalty. So when you're scoring a goal, it doesn't have to be deliberate handball. As long as it strikes your hand, either in the assist or the making of the actual goal, whether it's deliberate or not, it's ruled out. Fair enough, cool. But when defending, it has to be deliberate handball. So that's i.e. you moved your hand towards the ball, you've intentionally made yourself bigger to block the cross, the shot, whatever it might be, the pass. Lindelof did neither. Now, you want to slow it down and freeze frame. His hand is here. It might look, oh, if you stop it there, oh, why is his hand up there? But when you just roll it back a bit and just play it, whether even if fast motion or full speed, or in slow motion, you can clearly see that he's literally just running and his hand comes up in the motion when you're running. The ball hits his hand isn't wide out there, it's there. The ball hits his hand and he's moving his hand back at the same time. And his face actually, because the ball kind of chips it up. So he didn't move it towards the ball. He didn't make himself bigger. It was 100% accidental. The referee didn't give it. Maybe he didn't see it at all. The VAR told him to go look at it. Even in the slow motion, you can see that his hand comes up in the motion of him running, and as the ball comes towards him, he's moving his hand back. So he hasn't moved it towards the ball. But you still overturn the decision. And I like the fact that it's the referee who gives his own decision, because it's on the referee. I like that. You can't say, oh, this man in the sky. But you got it wrong. You got it how? That's one of the worst. That's one of the worst VAR handball decisions I've seen. One of the worst. And nobody can complain about Man United and VAR anymore, because that was a disgrace. Then David De Gea, I guess for me, it was justice. David De Gea saves the penalty. And he's been under a lot of pressure, stick. That would have been a great... Well, it was a good moment for him in terms of confidence, etc. Wiped away by VAR. They brought in this VAR rule. I think it may have been... No, I think it started this season. Was the first it was brought in. We had seen it in FIFA, like the Women's World Cup, some time ago. And the VAR checks the goalkeeper's feet on the line. So even if you're like, say, an inch off, the VAR checks it like they would like an offside, for example. And so it's factual. You're either on the line or you're off the line when the ball is struck. They tried it in the FIFA World Cup, Women's World Cup, as a bit of a trial. And they did it, I think, in one game, maybe in Japan against, I can't remember, maybe in England. And they would just retake after retake after retake. There was another penalty shootout within that same World Cup. And it was retake after retake after retake, because they kept checking. But some of them were big. Some of them were small. For me, you've got this linesman who comes to the, the goal side. Why can he not do that judgment? Because if it's a long, if he's made a big step off, the linesman should be able to see that to say retake. In the past, I've seen linesmen give those things, and I'm like, oh, what are you looking at? What's your role in this thing? But to go to VAR, to put the rule out, I'm not blaming VAR, because it's the rule makers who are implementing the VAR. The VAR is a picture. But you go to VAR, or you tell the VAR to rule that if he's an inch off the line, you retake it because he's gaining an advantage. Yes, by the letter of the law, I understand that. But what's the down the touchline for? What's the linesman for? Because that's ridiculous. Keepers are already at a disadvantage when it comes to penalties. To overrule that, overturn that, you give that whole moment there. What for me was an utter disgrace. Penalty should never have been given, and I think they're going to change that. VAR looks at the line rule, but what they're gonna do, which they should do, and what they should have done ages ago, is to tell the linesmen to be more strict, and you make the decision on the field. David has saved it. Everyone's celebrating. You roll the ball out. You're about to start your counter attack. Roll again. But that's not the reason we lost the game. That's not the reason we lost the game. The reason we lost the game is two reasons. One, the players did not play good enough. That's the bottom line. I mentioned two players, Van der Beek and Bruno Fernandes. Those are the only people for me. David De Gea, he didn't do anything wrong. Those are the only people for me who can come off that pitch. And I say with your head held high. When you lose a game, your head can never be high, but they can come off the pitch without feeling ashamed of themselves. Everyone else is very questionable. Some people utter disgrace. So there's two things. We didn't play good enough. As a team, we did not play good enough. From back to front, our passing was off. It was too slow. There was no movement. It was lethargic in terms of our energy. I understand Palace are, 2 weeks ahead of us in terms of their preparation, in terms of training, matches, etc. We're kind of still in pre-season mode. As I said, some players ain't come back. We've only played one pre-season game. I understand that. But misplacing passes. Early on, David De Gea misplaced a few. But he made a couple saves, including the penalty. He had a good game. Can't blame him for any of the 3 goals. Even got a hand on the second, the retaken penalty. Lindelof, Maguire wasn't bad, but Lindelof, the partnership does not work. That's why we're so desperate for a centre-back. It doesn't look like we're going to go in and get Upamecano this summer, wherever we're in now, this transfer window. But really, we should be busting the gut. We should be busting the gut and paying a bit extra to Leipzig to get him this summer, because we need a better partnership. It does not work. Lindelof is not strong enough. He's not quick enough. Maguire's not quick enough. Lindelof gets beaten. The first goal, he's not quick enough to get to the cover, and Schlupp gets around him too easily, holds him off. And the second goal, I said this too many times. Lindelof weak in the challenge. Weak in the challenge. Zaha holds him off so easily and drills it past David De Gea. Lindelof is not good enough. The partnership is a joke. Gary Neville said it perfectly. This defensive partnership will win you nothing. It will not win you a Premier League. We're far from that. And we're not doing any justice with that centre-bit partnership. Fosu Mensah doesn't offer anything. He's just there. He put in one good cross from Mason Greenwood, should have scored it. Free header, sitter really at the back post, should have scored it. But he doesn't really offer much. He actually overlaps a bit more than Shaw. But he's not express pace. Defensively, he's not, perfect. He's not great going forward. It's just a bit of, he's aight. There's too many players that are just aight. And he's just aight. He's not good enough. We know he's not the first choice. I understand he's not the first choice. I'm talking about the game today. He ain't good enough to be starting game after game for Man United. So that's one of the reasons. He's a second choice, third choice, utility man. Because he can play in a few positions. He's a utility man when people are injured and real tired. 2-3 injuries in a position. Luke Shaw. Some people can say, oh yeah, that's why you should have got regular. Forget that. That deal was terrible. Forget that. But we need a left back. We were on the football terrace doing the United show a few weeks ago, the first one, and we went in. I didn't go in on Luke Shaw, but in terms of the show, we went in on Luke Shaw, and we can see why today. He's lazy. He's lethargic. There's no energy. Again, I understand the injury issue. I understand the just come back pre-season mode kind of thing, etc. I understand that. But you early in the game, 7 minutes in, you can't tell me you don't have the energy to get back. You can see Townsend there, and you're jogging back, 3/4 pace. You're jogging back. Evra said it. You have to think the worst. You have to anticipate that ball from Schlupp, that should never have got there because Lindelof should have done better. You have to anticipate that he's gonna beat Lindelof. He's gonna put in the perfect ball across that's gonna get to Townsend if you don't do your job. You have to anticipate that. So you have to make sure that you are up with the pace, in line with Lindelof. So when that cross comes in, you're there to clear it. He's gambling and hoping that the cross is blocked or it's not a great cross. You can't do that as a defender. You have to anticipate the worst. And he didn't do that. He saw Townsend and he didn't recover quick enough, and we concede a goal. Poor performance. And then on the overlap, there was a time I'm thinking, move! Go forward! He ain't good enough. He ain't good. Back up, left back, cool. Defensively, he's when he's at his best, he's good defensively. That's it. When he's at his best, he's good defensively. We need better. We need better, especially going forward, man. He doesn't threaten. He doesn't threaten. Midfield, whew, McTominay. I mean, I said I don't know where Matic was. I really don't know where Matic was. People complain about McTominay in the lineup. McTominay wasn't good. Again, getting the ball in the half turn, he's not great with that. So when the presses come in, he's either passing back or losing the ball at worst. There was a simple pass that he should have made to Martial on the inside left channel. I don't know what he did, but ended up overhitting it. Martial was fuming. As a single pivot, I know Solskjaer is trying to groom him to take over from Matic. We can see, and we saw last season, to be fair, against Crystal Palace actually at Selhurst Park, he's not good enough to do that just yet. He wasn't the worst player on the pitch, but he contributed to a poor performance because that midfield too, Bruno was decent. I'm not going to do, Bruno was all right. Bruno was doing a lot, going forward and back. He was coming deep and dictating the play from there and getting back and tracking and then trying to force things at the front end, the top end of the pitch. But McTominay's passing was just off. It was slow. It wasn't accurate. And as a midfield, you're coming up against who's it? McCarthy? Him and Pogba. I talk about defensive partnership and the centre mid partnership. You should be owning that midfield. And I'm harsher on Pogba because his ability is 10 times that of Scott McTominay. So you might think, yeah, McTominay was worse. McTominay is supposed to be worse. Even when they're both at their best, McTominay is worse because he's not Pogba. There's not many midfielders are, but he's not Pogba. McTominay will never be as good as Pogba. So I'm going to be harsher on Pogba because I expect much more. And he is the first choice, in one of the first names on the team sheet, let alone just first choice in their 11. He has to be better. He made a few good long passes that spread the play. But the short passing in his half and in the central park, it was poor. It was poor. I didn't even check Twitter when he came off. Anyone that was complaining when he came off, I'm going to call him a fanboy because he didn't do anything. No. By his standards, he did nothing in that game. By his standards, he did nothing. By other people's standards, he did aight. At times. But the game went on, his passing was getting worse and worse. And there was like maybe a 5-10 minute spell when the ball was like, we were getting the ball into the box and Palace will be clearing it. And it's coming out to Pogba, maybe halfway inside the Crystal Palace half. And the first pass to get the attack going again, it's being blocked. He's getting frustrated. When he came off, he didn't look upset in the sense that he knew that he wasn't playing well. And of course, Crystal Palace on the break were very dangerous. That to take off McTominay at that time and leave just Maguire and Lindelof, who already spoke about their pace, would have been, I mean, we lost the game anyway, but it would have been catastrophic. So Pogba coming off of Van der Beek made sense. I would have actually probably taken off Rashford to keep Pogba on the pitch because I'll get onto the front three, but I would have probably taken off Rashford. But as I said, Pogba didn't have a good game. Didn't grab hold in midfield, lost the ball too many times. Whatever reasons we want to give, that's the reality of what happened. Bruno, I've spoken about him already. I think he was good. I think Bruno was good. Nothing more, nothing less. I think he just had a good game. And one of the our best player on the pitch, but that doesn't say much based on what I've just said. The front three. Marcus Rashford, meh, nothing. Wasn't bad. Wasn't good. Just a bit of a meh performance. Couple times he tried to create a yard to shoot, nothing came of it. Few passes inside, tried to link up with Van der Beek when he came on, and there was no link between him and Martial. It was just a meh performance. Nothing performance from him. I think when he went to the right, him and Fosu Mensah came with a couple dangerous situations, but especially when he was on the left, nothing. That combination with him and Luke Shaw did not work today at all. So I don't know. I hope he gets back to his best very, very soon. And we know the best I'm talking about, but we don't have to dwell on it. He has to get back to his best if we're going to have any chance. Was not good enough from him today. Daniel James, poor, just so bad. And again, I don't. When I'm comparing Rashford and Martial, my expectation levels are so much higher than when I'm comparing to Dan James. We know we're gonna get from Dan James. Should he have played over Greenwood? On every given day, no. No. When you're playing against a deep defensive line, you need players who can play in the pockets, who can create space with their technical ability. Dan James don't have that. He needs space to run into. He needs grass in front of him. He's a traditional winger. He's not an inside forward or anything like that. The problem is, if we don't have overlapping fullbacks and we just have inside forwards, then everything is congested in the middle between your attackers and their defenders. So it's a combination of both. But Dan James in this kind of game does not work. I know he scored in the game against Crystal Palace last year. I can't remember. I'm trying to think why he got so much space last year to get a goal. We were chasing the game, I know, but it was a good goal he got, to be fair. I'm not going to lie. But we know his game. He needs a space to run into. So play him in this kind of game, starting him especially, it's never going to work. It's actually never going to work. He's never going to be that player. He has a use for us in the squad in certain games. We saw how that when we play against Man City and Liverpool, who are going to dominate the ball. We allow that. We don't challenge them for possession. We sit back and hit them on the counter attack. Very useful. That's about when we played Man City, Liverpool. Maybe Arsenal. It depends how they set up in big games these days. You're talking about 6 games a season, where you can say, yeah, Daniel James from the start. Other than that, he's impact player, cup player. That's it. So, no, it's not the right decision to start Daniel James. But does that mean I would have started Mason Greenwood? There's a lot going on around Mason Greenwood right now. A lot going on. One, in terms of just fitness. Solskjaer spoke about it in his press conference yesterday. He didn't want him to go onto international duty. He hasn't had a rest. He played a lot of games for a young boy. His breakthrough season. He goes on international duty. They put him in front of the cameras. The journalists ask him some stupid questions. He makes his debut for England. Then he's kicked out of the squad for breaking quarantine rules. Him and Phil Foden talking to media, all that kind of stuff. I think it would have been harsh to start him today. But Daniel James ain't the answer. Daniel James ain't the answer. Not against Crystal Palace. Not against a low block at Old Trafford. And Anthony Martial, again, just meh. Nothing. Wasn't good. Wasn't bad. Similar to Rashford in that way. Granted, he's a striker, so he relies more on service. But I've seen us lose games and Martial still has a good game. Today, he didn't have a good game. Heavy touches. Yeah, heavy touches. The pressing from the front wasn't there. And again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Yes, I understand we're behind in our preparation. But some of the basic things, I just think we should have been better. We should have been better. Solskjaer has to take the L today. He put out the team. He's worked with the team for however long they've been back from holiday, quarantine, international duty, blah, all of that kind of stuff. He selected the players. He's set out the tactics. Didn't work. Individual performances, poor. Some players, not good enough on the day. Other players, just not good enough, full stop. And if we don't strengthen, I reiterate, if we don't strengthen, we're going to see more and more of this. I'm not going to rant. 23 minutes. I'm explaining. I'm just trying. Edward was there. I don't need to rant. Edward was there. Me ranting ain't going to do nothing. But come October the 5th. Come October the 5th. If Donny van der Beek, who's our goal scorer, big up Donny van der Beek. Off the bench, scores the goal to try and get us back in the game. In the end, it was fruitless, but big up Donny van der Beek. Good finish, actually. First time, good finish. Poor defending from Crystal Palace, but good finish nonetheless. Come October the 5th, if this is the squad that we're going in with, write it off. Right off the season. Premier League, Champions League, cup competitions, write it all off. Write it all off. It's not good enough. And the fact is, we are still a week behind. So we're always going to be a week behind until we get back up to full fitness, which I don't know when that is. And we're already playing catch up. So if we're talking about closing the gap on Liverpool and Man City from last year, with this squad, right off. But there's still time in the transfer window. So I'm going to remain calm for now. This is not the time to panic. That comes later. Hit the like and subscribe button, guys. I'll see you soon.